And welcome back, everyone, to part 7 of What If Goku Landed on King Kai's. So, we caught up after the fact with it just starting in Super. Goku, at this point, has gotten pretty powerful. He has Super Saiyan 4 on his side. He can even do Kaioken with it, so forth and so on. But someone did bring up a good point that in his training, first off, I do see him maybe training with the Z Sword. It wouldn't make sense. The Z Sword is there, and Goku breaking it would also make sense. Like he is not part Kai, but he is a Kai at least in training. So first off, it could make sense. Maybe he could send something off with the Z Sword, but also his sheer strength would destroy the Z Sword, which would release the old Kai. Now I think maybe this happens after his whole fight with Beerus. Like he unlocks it after he breaks it after their initial fight, and before he goes off to train with Beerus and Whis. Now a lot of people are like saying, well, Raditz should also have God Ki and all that. It's like, well, not necessarily. Like Vegeta made sense that because of his rivalry with Goku, he'd want to train and get stronger with God Ki. Raditz, though, while we don't have a really firm idea on his personality beyond what we see initially, Raditz always struck me as someone who, while a Saiyan and would like to get stronger, is not as his pride is not as important to him as someone like Vegeta's is. So I've never seen it in the think words here, think structure of sentence. I've never seen it in the vein of Raditz would also, it's like, I need God Ki too, Kakarot. No, I've never seen that. But that doesn't mean he would stop training. For example, I fully believe that with training with the Kais and all that stuff, I think Goku would help him unlock with Kai Magic Super Saiyan 4. I think we do get Super Saiyan 4 Raditz. Meanwhile, out in space, Vegeta is still training with like Super Saiyan 3. But beyond that, I see the old Kai basically being awoken. I see, and then I don't see him initially getting his potential unlocked from the old Kai. This is due to the fact that it was kind of just offered to Gohan. Say, how would you like to have your own potential unlocked? And it does take a little bit. Goku would have time. He doesn't have a family to worry about here. But I just don't see it happening immediately. In fact, I actually don't even see it happening until, say, Tournament Power scenario happens, which we're going to finish out this part today. So we'll talk about the Tournament of Power, all that. Goku, meanwhile, does train with Whis. Now, he's the only one training with Whis, which is both good and bad. Good because that means Whis can focus solely on Goku. Bad because one of the reasons Vegeta and Goku probably, got as strong as they did so quickly is because they do have their rivalry and competition through that rivalry to go off of. Without that there, I will admit, I don't see it as, let's say it likely that he will, what's the best way to put it? That he will get it as quick, but I do think he still gets Super Saiyan God down before before Frieza ultimately comes back into the fray. Which, yeah, I still think Frieza ultimately comes back into the fray. I don't see any reason, frankly, why. Well, actually, that's not entirely. See, my initial thought was you'd still have the rogue remnants of the Frieza Force out there. For example, you'd still have the Ginyus. Now, the Ginyus at this point do answer to Vegeta. But there's also the chance that Ginyu just takes Vegeta's body at some point. Personally, I don't see Vegeta with Nappa also there, and also still being extremely powerful and frankly stronger than Ginyu as well. I think Nappa could actually step in, take the hit, and Nappa is now stuck in Ginyu's body. Ginyu tries again, they swap, and Vegeta just takes them out. So the reigning Ginyus would be like, no, we serve you. Yep, we serve you. We don't want to die. We serve you. But more to the point, there is a scenario where I could have seen Ginyu taking Vegeta's body. In fact, that's an avenue where when the Ginyu Force is still alive, I don't travel down very often. So that's not a bad idea to maybe come back to at some point in a different what if. But for now, Ginyu is dead. But because the entire army is under Vegeta's control, the question really comes down to, because they have leadership, do they even want to try to bring Frieza back? I mean, I don't know, to be honest. I would say there might be a rogue faction that want to bring him back, but without even knowing that Dragon Balls are on Earth, which, to be fair, they don't even know that fact. Like, not even Vegeta and Nappa know that fact. At least I believe they don't put on that thing. Yeah, no, Goku and Reds used the Dragon Balls a while back for other means. So yeah, unless they, for fact know the Dragon Balls are there, there's no reason for them to go there. And Namek's no good because they don't even know how to speak the Namekian language. So actually, there is no bringing Frieza back in this version. So with that said, you would actually skip all the way to the Universe 6 tournament where Champa shows up, sees Goku. It's like, who is this chump? It's like, oh, this is Kakarot. He's a Saiyan who's been training here for a while. A Saiyan? Why would you just bring a Saiyan here? It's like, oh, I have my reasons. No. And now, please remember, Lord Champa, you are a guest here. I would hate for Lord Frieza to be angry with you. Whatever. Whatever. And so he tastes the ramen that Goku brought from Earth, saying, I want this planet. I'll fight you for it, brother. And so you get the Tournament 6 arc, which would compose of Goku. It would compose of Raditz. It would compose of probably Krillin and Tien. We're still solid enough fighters here. And then you get Monaka. So unfortunately, your two fighters here are much weaker than, say, Gohan. No, it was Piccolo and Gohan? No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was Gohan. It was Gohan who fought Vegeta, right? No, it wasn't Gohan fighting. Who was fighting again? It was Piccolo. It was Piccolo, Goku, Vegeta. That's right. It was Boo, but Boo got knocked out. He got kicked out. That's right. All right. Okay, now I remember. I'm just starting to think, like, no, it was Gohan. No, Boo got kicked out. That's right. Because Boo probably would have run the gauntlet on the majority of that team. Hit, he probably would have lost to. I think it's actually safe to say Boo probably would have lost to Hit. Although Hit would have struggled with Boo, even just hitting Boo wouldn't have killed him because he can't like just kill Boo the traditional way. That's a fun little short what if idea. What if Boo fought Hit? How that fight would turn out. Maybe I'll throw that on the docket for like a one-off. And again, it wouldn't really matter that much for like the story, but still. So I think you would still start out with Goku, who gets knocked out who first off takes on Batomu, gets knocked out. Then you'd have either Krillin or Tien come in, fight Frost. Honestly, though, Frost might still be stronger. His power, he's weaker than Frieza. But, we are saying weaker than Frieza by the definition of super, to be fair, where he is already much stronger than pretty much everyone else, save Goku and Vegeta and Beerus. Anyways, so it's tough to actually gauge where Frost's true power level lies. I would say, though, at his full power, he is probably still stronger than Krillin or Tien. And then, so he gets taken down. But I think Tien, using multi-form and trickery, is not able to take him down, but it's able to determine that, he has been treated. He gets picked by the needle. And so Goku gets reinstated. Raditz beats down Vegeta, and he takes down Kaba. And I think he does instruct Kaba in the ways of going Super Saiyan. Now, he's not as cold or calculating as Vegeta is. Like, he doesn't play the bad guy as well, like Vegeta does. But he does show off, like, his power. He does show how far he can go. Unfortunately for Raditz, Kaba, even as Super Saiyan, was able to be a match for Super Saiyan Vegeta. Now, doesn't sound impressive until you remember that both Goku and Vegeta basically have God Ki absorbed into their base form. So their level of Super Saiyan is far higher, at least a portion of it, is far higher now than it had ever been. And Kaba was going toe-to-toe with that. So I'd be hesitant to even say whether or not Raditz could beat him. Maybe if he goes all the way to Super Saiyan 3 or above, maybe he could. If he goes Super Saiyan 3, maybe. If he goes Super Saiyan 4, he definitely could. So that fight, Raditz is probably at Super Saiyan 2. He's still losing to Kaba. So you've gotten good, Kaba. I'll give you that. One day you might even be able to hit a true level. Goes to Super Saiyan 3. His hair's look wild. Whoa, that power's amazing. It's not the only power that can go even farther beyond. And just, powers up to Super Saiyan 4 and just poof, and one-shots him pretty much. Just poof. One day, too, you might reach this power, Kaba. And just throws him out of the ring. And so Super Saiyan 4 Raditz, he stays Super Saiyan 4 versus Hit. Unfortunately, he gets taken down pretty quick. Goku goes Super Saiyan Blue, shows it off pretty much for the first time. And so able to overcome Hit, only for him to overcome him. They do their tricks of the trade and all that. Or they're not tricks of the trade. They do their power jumping until Goku basically says, hey, can Hit, are we going to change the rules so Hit can go all out? And he's like, no, all right, well, then I quit. And so then the fourth fist, the Omni King shows up. Yeah, funny. I like funny things. He's like, oh, God. And then the Goku Black arc happens. Now, this would still happen because we know the Trunks timeline is kind of separate from the main timeline. Ultimately, he sees Goku, he attacks him. He's like, no, it's okay. And then Goku shows off Super Saiyan 3, beats Trunks. And then him and Raditz go into the future. Now, Raditz tries Super Saiyan 4, fails. Goku tries Super Saiyan Blue, still probably fails. Now, mind you, Goku is probably also practicing because he has Super Saiyan 4, and it's a very different transformation with the Super Saiyan God Primal, Super Saiyan 4, whatever you want to call it. I usually say Super Saiyan Primal God or something like that. That usually sounds good. He has practiced that, but he doesn't have it yet. I'll save that for Tournament of Power. Spoilers. So they would still lose their first interaction, come back, train, get stronger. Raditz is now practicing with Kaioken on top of Super Saiyan 4. They'd come back again, they'd lose again, then it's the Mafaba incident, and then they excuse me. And then they use the Batarings to turn into Raditz, or because it's Vegito, so it's Kakaroto. So Rato or Kakarids. Oh, let's go Kakarids. And so they're Kakarids. Now, would Kakarids actually be as strong as Vegito? If Raditz had trained with the God Key and been at around the same level as Goku, absolutely. If not even stronger, because we have Super Saiyan 4 kind of mixed in there too. As it stands, I'd actually put him a little weaker than Vegito, although their bond means that it's not, because it's not plus or minus. The Platara works on a very different way than the Fusion Dance does, which is literally A plus B with a multiplier on top, it seems like, because you got to even your power levels out. With this, it is just described as A times B, but that's not always a benefit, because A or B might actually be a bit more of a negative than a positive, as we see with the idea of Hercule and Goku than anything else. So, no, they'd still be strong, just not quite as strong. But their brotherly bond, I think, does, as they say with Vegeta and Goku, the rivalry strengthens the fusion. I'd say Goku and Raditz's brotherly bond strengthens that fusion as well. So they fuse together. Now, keep in mind, Goku is still able to also use Kai techniques that he's learned, including and also divine techniques. So, for example, Vegito binds Fuse Zamasu like a god bind Kai technique, using multiplication. And then the big thing here is, though, even though he might not be quite as strong as Vegito, when he lands in there, uses spirit fission on the fusion. He can. So with spirit fission, by all accounts, you should be able to undo a fusion with that technique. So when they hit Lance, I was like, I got to be able to. He's just as strong as ever. I've got to be able to figure out a way to. And then he just realizes defuse him, and just his hands start glowing, and starts hitting him. All of a sudden, as Merge Zamasu is kind of like shaky start, like, what is going on? It's like, yeah. It's like, no more. It's like, this ends now. Just rips them apart. Ah! And then suddenly just grabs the Patara. It's just, no more tricks. No more tricks. How? What? What is that? A technique I picked up from some Ningen, is it Ningen or Ninken? Either way, some stupid morals you pulled out. And short and sweet of it, I was able to split you guys apart. And you, and Goku Black is furious. Now keep in mind, this does mean though that Zamasu is still immortal, but Goku Black isn't. And I think Kakarids is aware of this. So he just comes in, notes the time ring, because he, again, Kai's, so he's kind of aware of that fact. And he would have challenged Zamasu back in the fold a while ago. He takes his and just cracks it. And just yeah, you're not coming back this time. And it's like, no, it's like, Kame, and powering up. I'm trying to think of what Rad's signature technique is. Was it keep your eye on the birdie? Keep your eye on the birdie, Kame. Kaioken's up. No, I will not be killed. You stinking water. And Zom's like, no, it's not possible. You will be. And then Goku's like, and then they finally defuse. Saying, so what if you killed him? I'll just go back and make another. If I will not be denied. All of a sudden he's feeling pulled in. It's like, what? And you see Gowasu and Shin using probably a Kai sealing technique. And just being like, no, you will not hurt anyone anymore, Zamasu. I will not be. And then Goku comes back in along with Raditz with Spirit Vision. Just, no, you're staying down. And then just gets sealed away through some sort of Kai sealing technique. Whis even says they have better techniques than the Mafuba. At least he does. And so that leads us to the tournament power. Now, if it feels like I'm skipping ahead pretty quick, that's just because this is the last part. I'm also a little on time crunch. Still got time, but want to try to get it done and wrapped up relatively soon. Now, when the tournament of power comes, obviously Zamasu calls for Goku. You'd have Raditz, him showing up. Now, one of the things, though, that has probably happened here is that Goku probably has been teaching like Kai-based techniques, and he'll try to teach the art of Divine Ki to Raditz. I don't think Raditz gets it down, but I think he gets an amp with the knowledge and a little bit of the idea of divinity in there. And Goku's like, I didn't teach you these things just to spray it all over the place. Didn't you, Dad, though? Didn't you? No! And so in that preliminary match, it would be Goku, Raditz, and maybe Trunks, who is older here than his canon counterpart by a little bit of a margin. So Trunks would still lose, just as I believe, just as was it Gohan lost? I think it was a tie or something like that. I think though Raditz does win his fight, and Goku would beat Bergamo. And then, he has a brief spar with Topo, and the teams have to be built. Now, this is where there's a big problem. Now, like I said, Goku is probably trained now. He has probably integrated his Super Saiyan 4 with his God Ki. Old Kai offers to unlock the potential. It's like, but it'll take forever. It'll take forever. We don't have that kind of time. It's like, there's always the hyperbolic time jammer, which, yeah, if Vegeta hadn't blown the thing up, that would have been a perfect way to do that. So that's what they do. They go into hyperbolic time chamber, unlock potentials for everyone who needs it. And I mean, they're probably only in there for like a week at most, but still, like a week time is like maybe a minute or something like that. I can't remember what a year is a day. So divide 365 by 24. That means so 24 hours. Basically every 2 hours is a month. Okay, every 2 hours is a month. And that would mean that every 2 weeks is a year. And then every week, what am I talking about? every 2 weeks is a year. Every 2 weeks is an hour. And that means every week is a half hour. That's what that means. Okay, that's the general gist. So, they'd spend probably about a week unlocking all of their potentials. Roshi, all the people participating, which would be Goku, Raditz, Krillin, Tien. Unfortunately, this is where we run into a problem. You no longer have, they probably do go out of their way to find Vegeta, Nappa. It's like, now then, we need your help. It's like, why would I bother helping? Because if you don't, you'll be erased from existence. If you wish to be, then that's perfectly fine with us. But still, besides, we have a way to amp your power that you'd like. It's like, make me stronger than Kakarot. Well, probably not that strong, but still, you'll be a lot stronger. It's like, very well then. And so you would add Nappa and Vegeta onto that team. They would also get the power buff. Now, because they're all getting ultimate powers, this is really changing up the power down. But that's still 4 missing slots. You could argue you could put Chiaotzu and Tien on there. I haven't put Roshi on there yet, so Roshi's on there, so that's 3. You could argue Chiaotzu and Tien, and then they probably resurrect Frieza. Now, Frieza isn't getting the amp. He's not getting the buff. And he doesn't have Golden Frieza either. So this is not good in terms of, even with all their potentials unlocked, not the best scenario to be in. But now that being said, you could probably also have Trunks on the team. So maybe I'd take off Chaozu and add Trunks. But you're still not in the best of ways for this team. Even with all the potentials unlocked, like even like Tien and Krillin, who have already had all their techniques for years, power's already in the millions. Now you undo that kind of unlocking. Now there's no cap. I mean, what's the best way to put it? Gohan got a huge buff. He did. And the whole idea of that type of unlocking is that you now have no cap so long as you keep training, which is why we kept seeing Gohan get weaker and then get back to stronger and then weaker than stronger. I've also always theorized that Beast Form is unique to Gohan, not solely because he's a hybrid, but because of that, which would make sense. He's the only one to undergo that process. Now, that being said, Goku probably... This does Goku adding God Ki on that form does bring up some questions too, because Gohan doesn't have Divine Ki, whereas Goku does. So what happens when you do that combined with God Ki? That's a completely different kettle of fish. But the tournament comes, and at first it kind of starts out the same, like people were kind of strategizing, but then they go their own way. Universe 9 would still probably get knocked out pretty quick. Honestly, a lot, even though you have a different fighters here with different mentalities, because for example, Krillin's not married here. I don't think he's quite as show-offy with like 18 or anything like that. So he's like, I'm on fire. Like he's not dropping his guard as easily, so he's not going to get knocked out as easily. Really, I would say we fast forward to the Jiren Goku fight. Goku powering up to his full power currently, and then adding God Ki, mixing it in, just causing a new form to happen. No joke, that would probably be legitimately enough to go toe-to-toe with Jiren. Because Goku and Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20 was enough to at least threaten Jiren. At least enough that Jiren was taking him seriously. But then you add then Ultra Instinct, he goes way beyond that. So, I would put Goku at minimum in that power range just with that alone, without any transformations added on. Then you factor him in tapping into his Saiyan heritage with like a Super Saiyan 4, added on with a God. If he can combine those together, which because it's mysticism based, there's a legitimate argument you could do that. So for the sake of going fanficky on this, Goku is able to still tap into Super Saiyan 4 along with God Ki and the Ultimate form to create Ultimate Super Saiyan God Primal. This would put him well above that Kaioken times 20 Super Saiyan Blue threshold and put Jiren in a bit of a bind. These guys are going to be basically destroying the ring as they clash, even knocking people out of the ring with just the shockwaves of their power level. I could actually see maybe like some of the more weaker universes like 4 getting knocked out temporarily because the power was such they couldn't stay in the ring. Ultimately, I think it would actually result probably in a double knockout. Goku doesn't even get access to Super Saiyan or Ultra Instinct at all. So, yeah, it might result in a double knockout. I'd argue a power like that would be much greater than Ultra Instinct. At least in terms of like the actual power output. Because we know Ultra Instinct does offer a power increase. So that would mean then that your biggest competition is taken out of Raditz. Vegeta would have to take on Toppo and the rest of them, which at least puts them on a more even playing field than, say, with Jiren. But you do have individuals still like Hit, who then gets knocked out who actually would probably target Toppo more than anything else, because Toppo is probably the next biggest threat on the table, along with Dispo. Because Ani Raza needs to be merged. Kale's probably the other biggest threat. So you'd probably have Frieza, being underhanded. Raditz and Vegeta are the strongest fighters you have left. And they got their potential unlocked too. So they're still able to fight to the best of their abilities. Ooh, it would be close. It would be close because universes get knocked out. But I think you would probably end up getting a winner where Vegeta probably tries to backstab Raditz. It's like, just grabs him with his tail. It's like, saw that coming, Vegeta. And it's like, no! And then it'd be up to Raditz to make the wish. Now, is Raditz a good enough person at this point to make a selfless wish, like bring the universes back? I could maybe see it happening, but that's a 50 maybe. Because Raditz probably would have learned a lot about himself being on Earth like that for that long, being married to Bulma. And so, yeah, I could still see Raditz doing it, but there's an argument he wouldn't. So that would lead you into the Broly fight, which Frieza is brought back, admittedly, but Vegeta is much stronger than him. So Frieza is just now pouting in the universe, just like, I hate you all, Saiyans, because yeah, Vegeta ain't letting go of that power, and then he probably just kills Frieza again. So there you go. Which also means maybe Chila finds Broly, brings him on the ship, and Paragus just says, Broly, kill him. Now, Vegeta is strong enough to probably take on base Broly, but as Broly goes stronger, he just, learns as he fights, goes, Ikari, which is strong enough to go toe-to-toe with God form Goku, and Super Saiyan Blue Goku, he still probably ends up getting wrecked by Broly in the long haul. And so ultimately, Paragus and Broly take the ship. They go and live their lives, more or less. So Vegeta and Nappa get killed. Which then leaves us with Dragon Ball Super Hero, which unfortunately with Goku off planet isn't going to end well for that story, because there is no Piccolo or Gohan in the story. There's only Trunks. And Trunks, even with a potential unlocking, isn't... he could turn Beast if we're making this about him, and make it his story. I guess that's possible. Raditz, as strong as he is, wouldn't be strong enough to beat Cell Max. So it would probably come down to Trunks, because he is a hybrid who has his potential unlocked in Super Saiyan forms. So, yeah. It'd be tough, but I think, yeah, you'd have it being Trunks who wins. Or being this beast form. So that's where we'd end this part. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.